Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again. I am here today to review another Goosebumps book. So, today was Laundry Day, which is basically code for Goosebumps Day. I guess you can kind of look at it as a good thing because it's like you know that. Well, actually, you don't know. Or I guess I know? I don't know. I don't know that you don't know that I know that you don't know that I know that you don't know. I don't know about that though. So, I am here to review Deep Trouble, and this is the next book in the series that I've had to review. And it's really funny because and it's sad because once again John B is doing a reading of this book and he is not finished with the book yet, so I had to listen to the robot audiobook, and so I'm probably gonna listen to his version at some other time just for fun. And I thought that was pretty funny. It's another one where we were kind of crossing the streams and it's like, oh, so close. I've been really kind of sad that I haven't listened to any of his audiobooks because they're so hilarious and perfect the way that he reads them in comparison to the robot. I mean, guys, you can't imagine how irritating and kind of like, I don't know, like weird it is to like just sit there and listen to a robot. I guess it shows you that I have like the ultimate patience because you're listening to this robot and I have to put the speed on 0.75 because she's going very fast, and so you have to slow her down a little bit, and she's like I, and that's like that's like a h, which should sound like ah, but the robot woman says ah. Sounds like a fucking llama or something, I don't know. So, Deep Trouble. I gotta just start right off the bat. Like, when I started this book, I was like, wow, because it is nothing like the TV show episode. The TV show episode for Deep Trouble is like a totally different story with like a couple of elements that are interwoven. So I'm wondering if maybe it's part 2's story combined with part 1. Otherwise, I don't know, like it's kind of weird. It's kind of it's fishy. It's a fishy situation because this whole book, here's the main plot. You have these two little shitheads. You got Billy and Sheena, Billy Deep and Sheena Deep. And you have their uncle, Dr. D, aka Dr. Deep. And they never even, I don't think they ever say his first name or anything. Like, they just keep on calling him Dr. D. and Dr. D works with Alexander, and they have been told to go to this lagoon where it turns out there might be a mermaid living there along with other exotic sea creatures or maybe other mermaids. So this uncle takes his niece and nephew to find this mermaid. It's another situation where you're wondering, how the hell is this even happening? The fact that these kids, they're going on this dangerous sea voyage expedition to find this creature. How is it that their parents are just so perfectly okay with that? Because we all know nowadays, there's a lot of parents, they'd never let this happen. It's sort of like the old stereotype of like, oh, go play out in the backyard by yourself. that never happens anymore. And it's just hard to believe, like, that these parents just, I mean, it's fine, like, if they're just going on a vacation, but, I mean, it's really dangerous to go out to sea, and they're going on this expedition to find this specific creature, and, and there's another thing that's going on, too, that's pretty scary. And this is, like, part of, like, part of proving that I was right and that the parents probably should have been a little bit more concerned. Billy Deep, he likes to go swimming all by himself at night. He likes to just leave the boat in the middle of the ocean and just go off by himself swimming. I mean, guys, that's really bad. I mean, that's really, really bad. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. It's like, oh, you're staying with your uncle in New York City, and your uncle just lets you go off on the New York street and just go off wherever you want. I mean, that's really bad. That's really, like, I don't know. There's some specific instruction, like safety, where he's like told to not swim to certain areas or something, but it's just all bullshit. Like, this uncle, Dr. D, he doesn't care. He cares about other things, and we will learn about those things in this review. So that's already like a big red flag that this uncle, he's got a few, I don't know, he's got a few crayons in his coloring book. I don't know what that means. And so they're looking for the mermaid, and what do you know? They find the mermaid, and then the partner, he betrays them, and he gets an offer for more money because the group was already going to be paid like $1 million for this mermaid. But the partner had an offer for $20 million, and it's for some, I don't know. They never even say who the other offer was for. Was it for another zoo? Was it for a laboratory for her to be experimented on? Was it some creepy, like, I don't know, sex trafficking type of thing? Like, that could have also been another thing. And that's another thing, too. Like, with Billy going off all by himself. I mean, I've seen a lot of true crime videos. There's a lot of scary situations where people disappear in the middle of the ocean and they're never found. Like, there's this one where it was like 4 guys and they went out on a boat and then they're just all disappeared. Like, they've never been found. And there were all these, like, little signs and things of, like, something must have happened, but still to this day there's not anything at all. And it's like, you can have some really scary things happen in the ocean. You don't need a scary thing of a stupid uncle who doesn't watch over his niece and nephew properly. And so that's just my little tirade. And as we get into the story, I couldn't help but notice that the main thing on my mind the whole book was all the double entendres. I mean, this book, I mean, even the title, Deep Trouble, I mean, that just sounds like a porno title. It just sounds like it's in a certain section, GAPE, the GAPE section, and it just sounds like, Deep Trouble. It's like, uh-oh, we all know what that one's about. That's the one where the parts come out and there's lots of wideness and weird and stuff. And so, already, I mean, Dr. D, the main guy is Dr. D, And then he's describing Billy and Sheena, and he's like, this brother and sister, they look a lot alike. They look exactly alike. Except the sister has longer hair than the brother. They look a lot alike. Exactly alike. And it's like, oh no. I knew what I was getting into. And so I'm going to read you all these lines that were really hilarious. It just, this whole book, the only thing I was doing, I was like, I gotta write down these lines because they're just going to be filler for this video. Not filler, no, but just great content. So let me read this. Number 1. Dr. D's research takes him all over the world. He doesn't have a wife or kids. He said he's too busy staring at fish. But he likes kids. And so, okay. And there's lots of like weird tentacle hentai porn fantasy scenes too. Like, there's this giant tentacle monster in the ocean for some reason, and it keeps on, like, entangling and trapping the main kid, and that was really weird, too, and, the brother, he wanted to write a book, and he wanted to call it Courage of the Deep by William Deep Jr. And so, what's next? Okay, so what happens is, I'm going to go through the whole plot, like, beat by beat, and one of the things that happens is, when the kids are out swimming, they almost get fucked up by sharks, and I will admit, like, there were some intense, suspenseful situations in this book. I didn't know that R.L. Stine had it in him. You know, there were some really actually good, well-written scenarios where you were genuinely kind of like, ugh, you're really gritting your teeth over what was going to happen. But they have both times, both intense situations, a Deus Ex Mermaid Echina. I don't know, Deus Ex Machina. I should have reviewed this before I watched the fucking Token Mermaid, because it would have been more fitting with that piece of crap movie when it comes out. But the mermaid, the main mermaid, she comes in and she saves the kids from the sharks. And that's when she gets captured, and they put her in this tank. And immediately, their first instinct is to give her cookies. Like, she's a fucking mermaid. Like, these guys are fucking idiots. They're supposed to be scientists. And it's like, yeah, more like fucking porno actors. I mean, like fucking, they probably don't even have a real doctorate. You know, they probably just have fucking doctorate of porno hanging on their wall like Dr. D. Like, yeah, I wonder what medical school he went to. Does it rhyme with, is it Brazzers Academy? Is it, oh, I don't want to name other ones, because the ones that I like would be more specific. But they put cookies in the fucking fish tank, out of all the things. I mean, it's established later on, Alexander was a weird guy. It's like, he seemed nice, but he had squid. He got squid from the ocean, and he marinated it in squid ink, and he thought that would be appetizing to 12-year-old kids. And like, that was like red flag number 1, that this guy was a weirdo and that he was not to be trusted. But the fact that it's established that he had squid the whole time, and the thing that they choose to give the mermaid is cookies. It's like, give the cookies to the kids, Give the squid to the mermaid, fucking scientist, fucking Alexander. They don't even ever give Alexander a last name, I think. Like, it's just Alexander. So she refuses the cookies. She's like, yeah. And I think she spits them out, or she throws the wet, soggy pieces out of the tank. And, so here's the next one. Here's the next line. I love Dr. D, and I'm glad he made his big discovery. But the mermaids shouldn't have to suffer for science. Okay, here's the next one. So this is when Alexander... So what happens is... I thought I had a... Okay. Oh, no, I missed a line. So Dr. D actually goes out to get groceries and shit. So he also says... I hope Dr. D has something she'll like when he gets back. So what happens is Alexander's gonna feed these kids the squid as well as a loaf of bread. Like, God, these people, don't they have any Cheetos or something? Don't they have any sardines? Don't they have any fucking pancakes, ribs, burgers, like anything good? They just have a loaf of bread and squid. Like, that is some serious retarded shit. Okay, so Billy, he feeds pieces of the squid to the mermaid because he's like, I'm not eating this, so she can eat it. And he's like, the mermaid caught it in her mouth. She chewed and smiled. She liked it. I gave her some more. She ate it. I rubbed my stomach. Do you like it? I nodded my head. She nodded. Yes. She smiled. She liked it a lot. Okay, so that was another... I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Seriously? And then, okay, so, and then what happens is, the kids are awoken up in the middle of the night by these kidnappers kidnapping the mermaid, and they knock out Dr. D, and then Alexander joins them, and he says, bye-bye, guys, it was just business. But it's really hilarious because these are like 4 huge hulking men. And Billy, the smartest character in the book, asterisk, Billy tries to run into a bad guy like a football player, and he tries to headbutt him in the chest. I just thought that was the funniest, like, visual I've ever pictured. It reminded me of Scream 6, that fucking weirdo guy who kept on talking about the Core 4. And there's this part in Scream 6 where, you know, he's just not going to fight like a normal person. He charges at Ghostface like a rhinoceros. And it's the same thing with this main kid. He charges at these kidnappers. And it does not work. But yeah, there is this whole really cool situation where I was actually like, wow, this is good. Where the main 3 characters, they get put inside of the mermaid tank, they get locked up in the tank and thrown into the ocean. It's like a 1, 2, 3, like just a big FU, where the main characters just get effed up and you're like, how are they going to survive this situation? Well, they get rescued by mermaids, obviously. And that was something kind of weird, was that I guess it was just implying that the mermaids, they were going to rescue their mermaid friend anyway, so they had already followed and tracked down Dr. D's boat. But it was kind of weird because if they were there the whole time, then why didn't they just stop the kidnapping while it was taking place? You know, like, why did they just sit back and watch this whole encounter happen, and then when the three random people who aren't associated with the mermaid anymore are in a mermaid tank, they're like, oh yeah, let's help them. Like, that's kind of weird. But then, actually, the mermaids help them find the other mermaid, and then they help them get the mermaid and set her free. And then, of course, there's one last kind of double entendre. How can Alexander sleep after what he did to us? So, all in all, and so then what happens, I guess, at the very end, I can't remember, like, exactly what happened to Alexander and the kidnappers. I thought they just got thrown into the ocean or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But it ends with the zoo people come to the ship, and Dr. D is like, no, I am not going to give the mermaid, because mermaids don't exist, and bye-bye. I thought that the ending was like the worst part, because the whole book had some pretty interesting and fun twists and turns. And the very end was like really the only part where it felt like, oh, this is really cliche and predictable. You have the kids, and they don't want the main character to do the sellout thing. And then the main character surprises them, and he doesn't do the sellout thing. I mean, that was very, very typical movie, book, TV show scene where, like, oh, look, the adult character learned something. He didn't learn how to take care of his niece and nephew, but he learned how not to take money from a zoo, which is progress, I guess. And anyway, this is going to be kind of like my review of like the book in general. I liked the book. I thought that it was entertaining, it was engaging, it was descriptive. The twist ending wasn't very cringeworthy. It was just Billy goes once again off by himself in the middle of the night to try to find the mermaids and say hi to them, and instead he finds a sea monster and I guess gets killed? ? I bet in the sequel he's just not even going to acknowledge that this happened. So that's another kind of cringeworthy thing, the fact that it was like a sitcom type of twist ending where it's like, oh look, it's a sea monster. It's like, oh okay, you're not going to resolve that, are you? Because I just know R.L. Stine won't resolve it. But yeah, I enjoyed it as a fantasy book, as a sci-fi book, as an adventure book. As a Goosebumps book, I thought that this was another piece of trash. Because it just did not feel like a Goosebumps book in any way, shape, or form. It felt like a fantasy sci-fi adventure. A pretty good fantasy sci-fi adventure, but not a good Goosebumps story. Not a good Goosebumps book. You know, the episode, even though the episode was very cheesy, very goofy, at least the episode felt like a Goosebumps book. It felt like a Goosebumps story. This fucking book just felt like the biggest, like, fantasy YA novel. Like, it felt like something that they would make with Chloe Moretz and Ansel Elgort, like as fucking Billy and Sheena, or maybe Ansel would be Billy and then Chloe would be the mermaid. Probably not anymore though, because she'd probably be like, mermaids are sexist. So anyway, as a Goosebumps book, I gotta give this book an F+. I put it at the very top of the F tier because I really wish I could give it like a C- or maybe like a C+ if I was rating it just in general. But as a Goosebumps book, it fails to be a good Goosebumps book. It is The Abominable Snowman Part 2. It's that same situation where it feels like this could have been a great book, it could have been a great story, a Goosebumps story, but instead he just went with it and wrote something that should not be considered Goosebumps, in my opinion. Another problem is I don't really like Sheena and Billy in this book. Both of them are kind of nitwits. You know, like they're just kind of there. They're not really that good characters. Dr. D is kind of a nitwit too. The only character who's actually really interesting is Alexander. Because Alexander, at least, he took care of these kids while Dr. D was off getting groceries. And it felt like at least Alexander has some semblance of being a human being. That's why it's kind of sad to me, because in the episode, I think they called Sheena like Sheena the something, like that he had like a nickname for her, and he had this personality of being like a prankster, and there were all these like character quirks, and I really thought that, you know, those were good characters. In this book, however, no. So if they end up doing this book as an episode for that shitty new Disney Plus series, I guarantee it's going to be trash. Because you just can't. You just can't. To me, I think they did a really good job. Like, now that I've read the first book, I got to applaud the people who made the series, because they took what was a non-Goosebumps book and they somehow turned it into a Goosebumps story. And they even added elements like there is a similar plot where Dr. D has this partner, and I think his name is like Ray or something, and he does betray them, and he does go off and I think steal something, and they have to go find him. It's the same type of thing, and then of course all these creatures end up helping them find the guy, and they capture him, and then he actually becomes the zoo exhibit. I thought that was like a much better story than this book, in terms of being a horror story, being a horror book. So, anyways, I still enjoyed the book. I would still recommend it. Like, if you were going on a vacation, if you're a kid, or if you have a child and they're going on a vacation, to just give them this book, even though it's not a good Goosebumps book, it's still a pretty good book all on its own. And, you know, I would read it again sometime, probably just to hear John B, aka Hot Smooth Dark Mocha Almond Joy Chocolate, read it. Because he could read anything and make it sound amazing. Much better than the robot woman on YouTube. So, and I'm not going to say so anyway again. I promise. Please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of Deep Trouble, and if you would agree that it would have made and I will say, like, if they ever make like a Goosebumps porn parody, they should take after Deep Trouble, because it's literally all right there. Like, you could have tentacle scenes, you could have mermaid scenes. The main character is Dr. D. Uh, I mean, it's all right there. It's all written for you practically. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. If you're wondering too, I sound a little bit better today. It says that my blood pressure is going down consistently, so I hope it keeps on going down so that I can fully get better by at least next week, so that I can start doing other things. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.